Welcome. This will be a review of Star Trek Into Darkness, which I actually saw with Sean, and these two guys.
Most anticipated film of the year.
Mine was Gatsby, which we'll be discussing later. As I said, if you thought Iron Man 3 was spoilers, you have no idea what you're about to listen to for Star Trek.
Yes.
All I have to say is, J.J. Abrams, you're such a liar.
He lies out of his fucking teeth. Oh my god.
It's like his mystery box bullshit. It's like, don't... Alright, so Star Trek Into Darkness, I think we can all say we really, really like the reboot. I know Sean loves it.
Love it. I love it.
I'm going to be the most positive on Into Darkness, but I still agree. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Are we talking about the reboot?
I don't know about that, Sean. I don't know.
Oh, well,
I'm sorry.
I think this will be 2-on-2 again.
I actually think this is better than the first one.
Wow.
This will.
Augie, I told you this is going to get intense. So, Star Trek, the 2009 film, we all really like it. I actually just watched it right before I saw Into Darkness, and I forgot how good of a film it is. It's intelligent. It works with the continuity, but it also finds a way to do something different. So when the sequel was announced, I was very excited, but I had a lingering feeling in the back of my mind that a certain character was going to show up. And much to my
heavily influenced.
I knew once they brought Damon Lindelof on to co-write the screenplay, I was like, oh shit.
Yep, I was just gonna.
Might end up badly.
All right, now this review, as I said, it's gonna be spoiler heavy. The movie starts off. I gotta say, I love the first half hour of this movie. Like that whole
the first 45 minutes are perfect movie making. Like everything works.
That whole opening on that planet, I thought that was really well done.
The makeup is fantastic. No, but I think when you talk about the first 45 minutes roughly, I think the thing that I appreciated about Into Darkness was that they go right into the story. It doesn't do this bullshit, previously on Star Trek, and then they tell exactly what happened with Nero, and I loved how we just go right into it. And my God, did JJ just threw us into this, just absolutely.
It's like he yelled cut at the end of the last one. He's like, all right, we're going straight into number 2.
Exactly. Everything just felt like it was supposed to be there. Like, I loved Michael Giacchino's score to this film is spectacular. Just as
with a couple exceptions.
Like the last one.
I love the special effects, especially the first half of the film, you get to the Enterprise underwater. I thought that was really, really cool.
Despite being completely illogical and stupid.
And I like how we get introductions to all the characters right off the bat. We go right into the characters that we knew from the last one. And again, kind of like what I was afraid was going to happen was I was afraid that with JJ, he was going to try and do a Lost thing where we kind of have to go really, really back into the characters' backstories. But we actually don't really get a lot of them, I guess not really interacting, but there's enough character development here, at least in my personal opinion, that we're able to overlook the fact that, this movie really, in my personal opinion, this is Kirk's movie. This is all about, obviously Captain Kirk is the main...
He's the man.
I guess the thing that's driving the Star Trek series, but in my personal opinion, this is Kirk's movie.
Well, that was necessary because the reboot is Spock's movie, I think.
Spock, yeah.
I agree with that.
And I'm going to say this right now off the bat, Chris Pine is fantastic in this movie.
Oh, everybody's good in this movie. That's why I love... Abrams has a thing when it comes to casting for this film because some of the actors, they don't do impersonations. Almost none of them do, but the good thing is Carl Urban is so close to DeForest Kelley to where I'm like, did they just clone him? You got Simon Pegg totally does his own thing. Zachary Quinto, I guess because it's Spock, you have to play it that way.
He's also fantastic. Everyone in this movie is fantastic. Everyone, but
with one exception, there was one person I didn't like, and that was
what, Yelchin?
No, I didn't like Carol Marcus. I didn't like her.
Oh.
By the way, I'm glad they introduced that character because they could set up Kirk having a son. I should preface this by saying I am a huge Star Trek fan, not a Trekkie.
Yeah.
I'm what I like to call, as Edmund says, I'm called a Trekker.
Same thing with me. Don't call me a truckie, man.
I think the funniest moment in the movie for me actually was with Chekhov, where Kirk tells him to go down to engineering and put on a red shirt, and he has this moment where he like pauses and he's like, "Yes, Captain." Like,
Well, there's a key
oh
reason
shit,
for
I
it.
got a red shirt on.
So
Say what the key reason is?
What?
Did we say why he goes down to engineering?
well, I'm gonna say basically the plot of this film is that the Enterprise basically at the beginning of the film they save a planet going against protocol, and Kirk loses his ship, and then they get the ship back, and then apparently there's this terrorist named John Harrison, played by my personal favorite, one of my favorite actors working today, Benedict Cumberbatch. You guys listening might know him from Sherlock on
I love him in Sherlock.
on BBC,
Love him.
and he will be voicing Smog, I believe. Is that the name of the
Yeah,
dragon?
yep, he's in Hobbit.
I
Part
mean,
two.
he's got the voice.
Yeah, he's perfect.
I would go gay for that voice. I honestly would.
I'm so glad that Cumberbatch he's finally getting the recognition he deserves, because he's an actor. He's so versatile, and he can go into so many different roles, and he knocks out the park. And he shows. I kind of liked how with I was not going to spoil anything right now, but I like how he's very, very just cold. He's a cold character, and I love that. I love how he's not. He doesn't show anything, and I think Cumberbatch just knocks out the park.
Eventually he does.
Completely. Eventually he does, obviously.
But
we'll get
so
to that later.
the Enterprise is told go by. Great to see Peter Weller again.
Oh yes.
I was very surprised to see him because I didn't know he was in this, and then I saw him. I was like, oh, I hope he's in this. So the Enterprise is told. What was
I'm
that?
going to be a little more critical on him, and when we get to spoilers.
Yeah. So they're told to go get John Harrison. They go get him on the Klingon planet, and then they get stuck on the outskirts of space for the rest of the movie.
The
And
Klingons get fucked in this movie.
especially because Harrison took out a whole squad of Klingons by himself.
They get raped in this movie. Literally. Like,
They get
they
so
just get destroyed.
like
I like Klingons.
introduced and then done.
And then they learn that John Harrison is Khan,
Dun, dun, dun.
which I called as soon as they said they were announcing, considering casting Benicio del Toro.
Yeah.
I was like, and then J.J. Abrams was like, no, we're not using him. I'm like, you are so full of shit. It is not even funny.
Yeah.
And
Well, actually, Imagine kind of revealed it already. I think it was like Entertainment Weekly. They had a cover for like him and Kirk, and they just said it like on the description, Kirk and Khan, which I'm like, why would you do that?
It was the industry's worst kept secret ever. Because actually,
Abrams movies have a history of not having the best things being kept under wraps, like Cloverfield.
this isn't a criticism of the movie itself, but like the reason why it's like, yeah, I got that, was because they keep shoving it in your face, like, ooh, who is he? Like trying to make you like guess who he is. But, yeah.
So, before we go any further, what are your thoughts on using Khan in this film?
I would have loved it if they went a different route, but we can get into that.
Yep.
Right now, it's just whatever.
Well, I'm fine with it. I mean, it's good that they did. I think Cumberbatch was a good choice for Khan. I mean, there's a little bit of complaining saying
Whitewashing.
He's not Spanish like Montalban, but again, whatever.
Except Ricardo Montalban was like, I mean, Khan is Indian, and Ricardo Montalban is not Indian anyway.
He's Hispanic.
So it's like, it doesn't really matter. The race.
But it doesn't matter because he's awesome.
Yeah.
I did like how they implemented Khan, because the thing is, I'm not going to spoil it right now. They introduced another villain. Actually, I think I might have, never mind. They introduced another villain.
Let's go into it.
Khan's not the main villain, everybody. It's,
Well, for a lot of the movie, he's not the main villain. Like,
Yes.
say, up until halfway point, it's like, he's the main villain, and then like, ooh, he's another villain, and we're just not going to Khan's not the main villain, and then at the end, oh, wait, nope, Khan's the main villain again.
Yeah.
Can I go first, please? I really want to go first
Go
on this
ahead.
one. I actually just went to go see this again 2 days ago just to see, because I felt like Sean was with me when we went to go see it. When we walked out of it, I I didn't know what to think of it. I felt like I had my expectations too high because I love Star Trek, and I get caught up in the euphoria of a new Star Trek film. But when I went to go see it this time, my problems still stood. I feel like, me personally, the best Star Trek movie is Wrath of Khan.
Obviously.
There's no debate. And I feel like this one, in the first one, they were able to make something that was Star Trek, but yet something that was totally different. This one, I feel like they just rode off the coattails of Wrath of Khan, just trying to implement as much of that as possible, but subverting it. Like, okay, instead of having it be told from the perspective of Kirk, we're gonna have Spock be like the main liaison between Khan and him. As far as my other issue, the biggest issue of all, there's no reason for it to be Khan other than fan service. But at the same time, you piss off both groups because the fans, like myself, were like, okay, why are you doing this if you're not going to address, if you're not going to really give him the proper backstory, which granted the original series had because Space Seed, he was the main force behind that. And then the people that are not fans, like, because this is supposed to be more mainstream, I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
The fans are going to be like, why should we care? Who gives a shit?
Yeah, we don't know him.
Yeah, so that doesn't work. And then I'm sick of having the heroes having to team up with the villain, and then he double crosses them, and then Star Trek movies should not end in a fist fight. They should not end in a fist fight. I was so taken back by that. I'm going to leave the key scenes to you guys, but that they do this whole thing about Khan's blood. That I put my hands in my head because
I call this one
it's a throwaway scene because Bones is messing with some kind of organism. He's like, I'm trying to revive it with Khan's blood, and I was like, oh shit, here we go. And then sure enough, someone dies, and then this stupid MacGuffin comes back into play, and I just felt like it was such a cheap way out, and I felt like they could have done so much more. I smelt Lindelof's shit script bleed off the screen for the last third of this movie.
But it was him, because the other writers didn't want to use Khan, and he was the one who was like, no, let's use Khan, and that's what it turned out to be.
So it was his idea all along?
Yep.
No,
It was. There was an interview with the other writer, Roberto Orci, and he said him and Kurtzman were fighting to not use Khan, but Lindelof was like, no, we got to use him. So it's
And Cumberbatch is fantastic. He owns this movie.
He
I
does.
feel like as I said, there's no need for it to be Khan. If he was a totally different character, he's Hannibal Lecter if he had superpowers. And I'm sick of seeing movies where with a jail cell and the hero and the villain going back and forth. That's becoming a cliche at this point.
Yeah, I'm starting to notice that too.
But at least it wasn't like, oh, but I wanted to be captured. At least it wasn't something like that, like Dark Knight or
the
one.
last thing I want to touch on for me personally before I hand it off to you guys is, as I said, they use deliberate points from Wrath of Khan, and I was accepting it for the most part up until someone yells Khan for no reason because it wasn't Khan's fault.
Yeah.
Because Marcus was the one who blew up the ship and caused the warp drive to malfunction. So it's like that's the worst example of fan service that you could give me. I feel like I should say something positive before I hand it off. It's very entertaining. It's not a boring film. The special effects are fantastic. Simon Pegg is hysterical in this movie. Even though he's playing himself. Sulu gets more to do, which I was very happy about. Although I was really frustrated because Dr. McCoy doesn't get anything to do except spout one-liners. And because I feel like...
I'm a torpedo technician.
Yeah, all the metaphors and stuff, and I was like, he was the best part to me about the first film. And this one, I feel like they kind of made him take a backseat to other characters who simply weren't that interesting, like Marcus. Both Marcuses, actually. I'll talk eventually later, but I'm gonna hand it off to you guys. I'm so frustrated by this film because there's so much I love, and then there's so much that makes me want to, punch J.J. Abrams in the face.
My issue wasn't that they used Khan. My issue is that they introduced him as Khan, and then it looks like it's going to go down that, like, it looked like they were going to take advantage of the fact that this is an alternate universe with different circumstances where, because of the alternate circumstances, Khan is actually, like, a sympathetic figure, and, the heroes are actually going to team up with him to go after the true villain, so Kirk and Khan would actually be friends. Like, it looked like they were going something different, something more unique. But then it seemed like out of nowhere, he just like, nope, I'm gonna
take over the ship.
Yeah, it like came out of nowhere, though. Like, there was no reason for him to all of a sudden turn on them.
Especially because they have a scene where the two Spocks talk to each other, which I was like, all right, and
there's absolutely no motivational reason for, like, what motivated them to be like, oh yes, I think my older self would know who this is.
It's like, and then he says, he's like, did you defeat him? And he was like, at great cost. I was like, all right, someone's gonna die, and I guarantee you, it's gonna be who it turns out to be, which we should probably just say what happens.
Well, Kirk dies for about
5 minutes.
10 minutes, yeah.
And then they revive him with Khan's blood, which is freaking stupid.
Saved by tributes. that was the most annoying fan service to me, because it wasn't like, oh yeah, there's a tribble in the background. It's like, hey look, it's a tribble. See, look, it's right there.
I don't know. Spock yelling Khan is the worst fan service.
Yeah, that's true. I think we need positive. Alex.
Okay,
Alex, you're going to be really positive. Go ahead. I'm done.
Is Alex even here? Did we lose him?
All right, Sean, you go.
Okay, well, I actually don't know where to start.
Okay.
With Khan, I'm quite honestly fine with him, because, well, here's the thing. If you watch the original episode of Space Seed, it kind of does look like Khan tries to be like his friend, but then of course he takes over the ship.
He's also got black hair.
The whole thing about him being, helping him, that's Khan for you. He's a master tactician. Like, there's a scene where after he takes over the Admiral Marcus' ship, Spock's at the captain. He says, we're going to destroy you. And then Spock's like, but you're going to risk the lives of all your men. Because, again, like in the original Star Trek, he has a lot of his old comrades from like 300 years ago in cryogenic pods. So Spock's like, don't risk their lives. And he kind of be like, I'm going to drain the oxygen in your ship. And Spock's just like, that is logical.
Yeah.
Okay.
That Ryan reeked of Lindelof.
That was kind of funny. I like that.
After just heard what you just said about Lindelof, I agree. It's his fault. I mean, Archie and Kurtzman knew what they were doing. They didn't want to use Khan, and I'm fine with Khan in it. My main problem, though, was with Admiral Marcus. For some reason, I'm okay with Carol Marcus, just because they didn't try to be like, oh yeah, she's Kirk's love interest.
Because we got a bikini shot for a good 2 seconds.
Well, yeah.
For no reason other than to please all the men in the audience.
Really shot.
I'm just glad that they didn't make it, but with Admiral Marcus, like, I never got his motivation. Like, why was he suddenly turning against Starfleet or something? Like, I never got. That's my big problem.
Wait, he wasn't turning against Starfleet.
He was trying to start a war with the Klingons.
Yeah.
The war that he always wanted.
I don't know. I'm fine with. That didn't work for me, really. The whole thing with Kirk dying at the end, and then they bring him back. Yeah, kind of a cop-out, but hey, at least Star Trek 3 is not going to be a search for Kirk.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the difference is, though, regardless of it being 2 movies, Spock's death has a real sense of resonance to it. This it doesn't.
Okay, clearly you weren't looking right next to me when we were watching it. I was holding back tears. I'm not kidding. I was holding back tears. Even when I saw the scene again, I'm like, oh God, I'm crying. Because I do like how again, in this series, it's all about how Kirk and Spock became friends. And, of course, that worked so well in the last one. And here, again, it works really well. For me, it just works. And, yeah, him and Spock going, go on! Yeah, it's kind of they could have done without that.
But don't you think they could have done that, like, Kirk dying and sacrificing himself for the needs of the many in a way that didn't so blatantly
use the exact set piece and situation from Wrath of Khan.
But, like, I would have been fine with it if they didn't just blatantly, like,
use a radiator.
Exact same thing.
Here's my thing. Guess what makes it different? Like, again, in the beginning, Kirk's like, should I risk the Prime Directive and save Spock? So, again, Spock doesn't know.
Even though they already pretty much did fuck with him.
Why? It worked because, again, at the end when Kirk's near death, he's like, I want you to know why I went back to you. Like, I do think that works to describe their friendship. And again, I see what you mean. Needs of the many, needs of few. Yeah, I get what you mean.
That was working fine. I had no issue with that line.
Yeah, but I don't know. Again, I guess I agree. This could pretty much be the modern. I mean, you say the remake of Wrath of Khan, but at least again, ending all aside, I think they at least do enough, just enough. I'm not saying they totally made it different. Of course, there's a lot of scenes that are of course similar, but I think they at least did just enough to do some different stuff. But that's just me, I guess.
That's one of the things I did like, and it was one of the smaller things, was that they spent a little bit more time between Spock and Uhura, which was one of the problems I had with the last one, where that just kind of came out of nowhere.
Really? Because this, I didn't care for it.
But at least, like, it's not just, like, one scene and then boop, gone. It was kind of spread around throughout the movie, and then, of course, at the end of the movie when she saves him in the end. So I thought it was worked in mostly well.
But
especially since she doesn't have much else to do.
Well, my thing is, I feel like Abrams is trying so hard to bring out the human side of Spock, to where they're almost jettisoning what Spock is as a character. Like this one, I really don't see the Vulcan side of him, which is something they really do well in the first one with. This one, it just seems like a forced-in love romance because we just need one for a cheap melodrama.
Yeah. Did we lose Alex? I haven't heard him at all.
Yeah, I think he
Oh,
might have passed out for that screwdriver.
Yeah. that was the one that was going through my head, too. But yeah, it's really entertaining. Actually, one thing I heard was that the reason why they introduced the Klingons and they had the whole thing with trying to start a war is because the plan for the third one was to actually have Klingon war.
Well, and again, in the first one, they actually did have Klingons, but those scenes were cut out.
Yeah. Which they weren't needed in the first one.
And you only saw them in their masks, too.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I'm okay with that.
I'm trying to think of what else. I think Pine and Quino, they do have really good chemistry, and I do like how their relationship is different from the Shatner Nimoy one. It's just I feel like I what am I trying to say? I just feel like Abrams is trying so hard to please everybody that it's kind of hard for me to gravitate to it as a whole.
It's one of the things is like as a pure like straight ahead action adventure movie, it's incredibly entertaining. I wish there was about 5 to 10 more minutes of downtime because it felt like
it's just pure action throughout the last second half. It just keeps
like
going.
It felt like it was like zipping around a lot, and I feel like it needed just a little bit more, just like spacing out, just to let it breathe. Because when it came to the supposedly big conclusion, which is that chase, it didn't feel like the third act because that didn't feel like a big climatic action scene. That felt like a middle of the movie kind of chase thing.
Well, let's just finish this thing.
Yeah.
No, because I want to quickly touch
little things they did with Khan that I did like. They actually never like tried it in the his original incarnation was that uh, stun phasers don't do shit on him, and even the nerve pinch doesn't do shit on him because of his super strength and all that, which I thought was kind of creative.
You mentioned downtime. I feel like the second half, it's not as tight as it should be. Like it just goes from
Well, it's too tight.
it goes from one set piece to another, and I wish there was more genuine like character conversations that don't have one-liners.
Yeah.
So I'm at a 2.5. I know I try to separate fandom from a separate entity, but I'm sorry, I just can't do it with this film because they do use stuff that is practically the same. It's got more good in it than bad. It's just me personally, I was underwhelmed.
I'm at a solid 3 out of 4 because of how entertaining it was. Then it was able to slightly smooth over the bumps along the way.
See it in a theater, though.
Okay. Well, yeah, of course. I'm probably going to be the highest out of all of you. And again, maybe it's too high, but I don't know why, because I've been complaining about some of the stuff.
Well, I think Alex
4.5 out of 5. And I agree with a lot of things, but I don't know. Again, like I said, this is my most anticipated film of the year. And I am a Trek fan. Sorry, Star Wars fans. Trek is better than Wars. I'm sorry.
It is because these prequels surpass anything that Lucas did with those prequels.
No, yeah, by far. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I agree. I can see where a lot of people are going. I'm okay. I'm kind of okay with the fact that, again, even though they did a lot of Wrath of Khan, it's not like directly saying, oh yeah, this is Wrath of Khan. But the ending, I'm not as critical. That's another thing that's been driving a lot of people crazy. I'm not totally critical on it, but yeah, it's a little rushed. Like I just said, like they're probably thinking, like, let's just end this movie.
It's like
it just fizzles out.
Khan out, Kirk's alive, do a little ceremony, done movie. It's like, I really wish like Alex hadn't bumped out of this.
I know because he was the one who really loved this.
I want to hear
and especially, well, I'll let you know what he says because we're going to Six Flags on Sunday. I'll keep you posted.
Oh, okay.
But if they do make a third one, what would you like to see? I want Shatner.
No. Don't do Shatner. He's dead. Why would they do Shatner?
I'm just saying, I want just have him in the background, or have him be like the commander of Starfleet. Have him play the Tyler Perry role from the first one.
Deal? Get it all?
The hell is that?
In order to sell 1,000.
Better Call Saul.
Actually, what would have been what if Admiral Marcus's character had instead been Tyler Perry's character? Tyler Perry.
I feel like, but I want to say I think Peter Weller's really good. I just wish they gave him better motivations. And
That's exactly what I'm saying.
because I mean, come on, he's RoboCop.
Yeah.
Dead or alive, you're a couple with me.
Speaking of Peter Weller and Philip K. Dick stuff, did you guys hear Blade Runner 2 is now being written by one of the writers from Green Lantern?
Oh God.
Oh my God.
Which
What's
one?
happening? Damon Lindelof, right, Prometheus.
Wait, which Green Lantern?
I'm bringing it up now. Hold on. I'm going to conclude this podcast though.